Okay, we are live. 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 Do you hear me well? There is a weird echo for now, I don't know why. Do you hear me well? There is a weird echo for now, I don't know why. Do you hear me well? There is a weird echo for now, I don't know why. Sorry, I'm coming. Sorry, I'm coming. Oh, gee, I don't need the sound. So do you hear me well? Let's get started. Sorry, I'm coming. Okay, so my name is Jean-Michel Bihorel. I will be presenting the Rorschach Stripes project today, but first let me introduce myself quickly. So I'm a digital artist and I'm also a teacher at Creative Seeds and look dev lighting supervisor at VFX. So here we are today speak about Rorschach Stripes. Let's look at the project once again. You might watch it on your own screens because the compression here I guess will be pretty bad, and I rendered this project in 4K just to see the sharp fur Guerilla Rendering. So is it still looping now? So is it still looping now? So is it still looping? Is it okay now? Yes, c'est mieux non? Ouais, ok, apparemment c'est bon là. Ok, sorry, I'm not a professional streamer, obviously. So let's go back to Rorschach Stripes. Up. Okay. So here the main idea was to make some new experiments, like every project I do usually, and this one was to make experiment with the fur in Houdini and the hair rendering in Guerilla. So I wanted to make something a bit special, not a regular tiger. I wanted to play with this kind of patterns moving in the fur, and today I'm going to show you a bit how I did it. So it's not really it will be mainly focused on the rendering part. I will not speak too much about the modeling or the grooming. So if you guys have any questions, I might answer them, but it will be mainly focused on texturing, lighting, rendering. So let's get started. So here I did the model of the head for my tiger first. And I knew I wanted to make this kind of revelation between a dark tiger becoming a white tiger, making the patterns move along the way. So the first problematic was that I had many UDIMs for my character, and even though I would have just one UDIM, it would have been hard to draw by hand the pattern, and even harder to animate them along the time. So I thought first it could be some kind of procedural thing, some procedural works for Houdini, but I chose then to make a simpler approach to it and to have something a bit more controllable. First I wanted to make a disclaimer. This project is not working in a ACES pipeline for now. because at the time I didn't knew how to work with it. Well, thanks to Chris now I know. But this project is not ACES. Okay, so I was talking about the UVs. So actually what I choose to do for this project in order to make the pattern moves is kind of hacky. It's very simple actually. So what I did is that I first choose an angle for camera projection, and I started to draw some basic masks thanks to Nuke, and that way I was able to make some very soft gradients based on my initial render. And with these gradients, I was then able to remap the gradient like this, if I can show you. Okay, so here it's just very basic curve to remap 1 to 0 values to a kind of stripes like that. So I didn't remap it in Nuke actually, I did remap it in Maya, but it was easy like that in Nuke to have a test actually of what these patterns would look like when I remap it like that. Well, I will show you later in Maya how I did the remapping, but this was a kind of preview to be able to adapt my shapes and have a feedback of what it could make in Maya. So my computer is very slow for now because I have a rendering. Okay. So this was just for preview. Okay. So if I do a remapping of a gradient like that, but I offset the gradient before remapping it, I can have this kind of motions. So here I'm just remapping my gradient, and as I remap it afterward, I can make it kind of sliding. So it's basically what I'm going to do in Maya in the hypershade later on. So this was just to decide what my main shape would be. Back in Maya, I just use this mask as a projection. So if I just look here, I have two cameras. So I have my projection camera, which is a front view where I can easily paint a mask on my character. Then I have the shot of my the camera of my shots, so I can observe the results of my projection through a camera. So if I just check in the hypershade, what I've done is very simple. Is that I have a file which is going into a projection camera. So here, if I just look through the perspective view and just frame I can see that I'm just projecting a very basic picture on my tiger. So it wouldn't work if I wanted to make a larger view, but here from this angle, I just did what was necessary for the shot to work. So as I said, I took this camera projection. I also add a noise, and this noise is animated over time. So here, if I just it's just noise animated over time, and I just blend them together. So here I have my projection plus the noise, and I can just put more or less noise here with the layer texture. Then I plug that into a ramp, and in between I just animated the gamma to offset the values of my gradient before to remap them into this ramp. So here, if I just play, you can see the result of my noise. So here, if I put more or less noise, I can disturb my gradient. And here with the gamma correct, just by animating this value, I can contract or expand my gradient in order to make it grow. Okay, so here I see I've put too much noise, so it's just breaking out. But let's go back to the values I had. Here is what I have. Okay, so this ramp is mainly deciding how many stripes I'm gonna put inside of my my linear gradient. So here I can just remap the size of the stripes, the number of stripes. I can add some more stripes if I want. And voila. So it's pretty simple actually, and I had the exact control I wanted on on the look of the stripes per shot. So if we go back in Nuke, of course the last shots, they are not done like that. So my very last shot, where I reveal all the stripe of the character, I just made a render with the texture of my tiger, the one I've prepared before to make the animation, and I just animated the strokes. So if I look at the result here, I just made an animation of this over time, and it's the texture I've been using after for my Fjord albedo in Guerilla. Okay, so this is painful work, easy work. So, but I just try to make a transition between the two techniques in order to avoid too much painful work. Cheating, yeah. Okay, so for Nuke it was about that. So when I'm happy with the remapping I've done in Maya, I just make a play blast on black background that I'll put in EXR, but it's really just a play blast. So very cheap, but hey, I just need to have a black and white value, so it was enough for me for this project. So this was for the Maya parts. Let me see if there is any question for now. Whoops. Go Aces. Yeah, sure, Christophe, go Aces. Remapping of gradients is brilliant. Okay, so if there is no question, I just move on. So what was my next point? Yeah, simple gradients. So then let's go to Guerilla. It's the main subject today. So in Guerilla, here is the look of my scene. So it's very simple. So in between, I just went to Houdini and make a very long process of the grooming, but the grooming is kind of another subject, and most of the things I've learned in Houdini to make grooming comes from this masterclass, so I really recommend it, about grooming in Houdini. By the way, it's very cool to groom in Houdini. And the only difference there is between a regular groom and the one I've did is that I've stored per strand, per rendering strand, an attribute on each strand that stores the position of the root. And I will see later why I did this special thing. So back to Guerilla. So here it's a very simple scene. As you see, I just have my two cameras, my projection camera, because I'm going to use it to reproject my play blast onto the fur to make the animated texture. The rendering camera of my shots, for sure. And I also baked the fur in Houdini and exported as a dynamic. Here I just choose to display it like that because it's just lighter for the viewport, but if you select any object in Guerilla, you can just choose to display it as a wireframe. If I put off, you can see that we have our 10 million fur displayed in the viewport. And it's not bothering Guerilla too much. It seems to be fine, but I just wanted to go easy on my computer, so I just put it on wireframe. So most of the time in Guerilla, you don't even need to use proxies because you can just switch the visibility of your objects like that, and as they are references, they are behaving more or less like proxies, so you don't really need actually so much to use proxies in Guerilla. But maybe I'm wrong, but most of the time I work like that. Okay, so this is for the fur, it's imported. So here I have the look depth of my tiger, so it's just the basic tiger without any override. So here it's just the look depth of my tiger, so I have my iris, the fur, the whiskers, and everything. And here I've made another render graph to make my overrides for the shot and the lighting. So it's really because it's a very simple personal project, I didn't put too many render graphs. You could have a render graph for your overrides and one for the lighting, but here, just to make it quicker and simpler, I just have one render graph for the override of my shot. So if I just turn off all the override of this shot, very simple, just like that, I can just start a render and have the look depth of my regular tiger. So here is the final tiger actually with the white hair. But actually we don't see too much because we just see on the last frames of the project. Okay, so for the render speed, I'm not on a very good computer. I'm kind of a laptop computer, and I'm not using all the CPUs, so it's not gonna be very representative of Guerilla's strengths on the rendering speed, but I guess it gives the idea. Let's stop the render. So yeah, maybe I'm going a bit too fast. I wanted to speak about something else before. What I really love about project management in Guerilla is that it's very simple and flexible. If you go into the preferences and into the directories section, you can easily put some variables, some kind of environment variables, but just for your project. And here I've just set a workspace variable, and it helps me to whenever I'm importing new things in the scene, to tell Guerilla to put a relative path to this object. For example, if I just want to bring a new asset in the scene, I could just click and drag an object in the viewport, and it automatically gonna say, oh, okay, I found in the path of the object you're trying to add to your project a variable which is workspace. Do you want me to replace this with the variable? And I say yes, of course. And you can check now that in the reference, it's just pointing to $workspace. So if I want to bring this project to another network, other hard disk, I can just replace this variable, and it's going to point on all my dependencies are going to point on the right locations. And what is very good, because now it's more or less like the set project in Maya, but what is very nice is that I can just put some other variables. So I could say asset equal, and I can just say, okay, I want to make another variable for my bank of asset, for example, because my bank and my project could be on different locations. So here I just created a new variable called asset. And if I remove this reference I did before and click drag again an object in the scene to reference it, you can see now he is proposing me to take the shortest path. So he says, okay, there is a shorter variable which is called asset. Do you want to point on this one, or do you want to point on the upper one, which is workspace, which integrates a bit longer path, but maybe, you know. So very cool. You can just have as much variable as you want and organize your work like that. So it's very flexible in terms of asset management. Okay, so that's just a little technical point I wanted to speak about. So next. Okay, so we already spoke about the look dev render graph and the lighting overrides. So I can easily just change anything for my shot, and as soon as I just reactivate my overrides, I'm back with the override of my shot. So here these ones are not interesting. I just actually changed a little bit the specular on my whiskers for this shot, and I just changed a bit the color of the scalp because the hair 2 materials is very affected by the color of the scalp, and for this shot I wanted to change a little bit the background color just to make a nicer white hairs, very readable on the surface. So here what I wanted to speak here is more about one very special thing about Guerilla, is that, okay, I have a projection camera, and if I just dive into my shader, so you can see here is the fur of my tiger just entering into this branch, and I'm just overriding its albedo color. So you can see here when I click on this show override only button, I can see what are the override I've made on this particular shot. So here the albedo, I've made a little setup to mix different things. So first of all, there is the sequence, the little play blast I've done in Maya, which is pointing here. And I've remapped it, but just to change the colors. So if I just plug this one into my render, I will have more harsh colors, just black and white. But the little difference here I have is that I have a reference camera projection. So if I was to project a picture directly on my fur, it would be very sharp, because even though the fur is, the fur would be cropped by the projection. For example, let me draw something. If I have a pattern like that on my tiger, and if a fur was to start from here, and die here, the fur will actually be have different color along its trend. So for example, it would start black, continue white, and end black. So it would make just a very perfect pattern projected on the mesh, and it would flatten the natural look of fur. So what I wanted to do actually was to say that if my fur is taking birth here, I want it to be completely from this color. So if it was black or white, I want it to be black fur, and if he starts from a white area, I want it to be white fur. So for that, it's why I stored the position on each strand of fur. I stored an attribute called root, which is the position of where he has born, and whatever the position on the fur, the root attribute is always pointing here. And I'm making a camera projection based on the root attribute. It's a bit hard to explain, but let me show you the difference. So if I store this picture, which is the result of the reference camera projection, so it's a projection considering that each fur is just a little point at the base of the root. If I change this projection by a regular projection, let me just plug it. Now you see that we have the exact pattern of the play blast taking place on the fur. So we lose all these little variations on the fur taking place, taking is a color from its base and just spreading along. So it makes something much more dull and flat. So I hope I managed to explain this little particularity, but here what's very nice is that Guerilla is able to make a projection on an object considering another position of this object. It can be very useful also when you are making a projection on a deforming object. For example, you can say, okay, even though this object is deforming, make the projection based on the position at a given frame, for example. Okay, so just to show a bit the versatility of Guerilla in terms of managing attributes. So here, let's go back to my reference projection. And here I actually just remapped the values to not being black and white, so it's now gray and white. So just not to avoid pitch black albedo values. And now I also have output from Mari, a texture of my tiger without any stripes. So it's just the white component of the fur actually, and because I wanted to have some small variations of tint also in this layer, and I'm using the projection to mix between those two. So here I'm just multiplying this color by the projection in order to reveal this white area just in the parts where the projection is white. Then I just use a randomized color based on the ID of the fur to make some random white hairs inside of the fur description. Okay, so now without sampling completely the picture, it's a bit hard to show the difference, but shows you what you can do inside of a simple attribute inside of Guerilla. Let me check if there is any question on this point. Maybe I was too fast. Tick. yeah, it's not designed to be a explanatory course for all the options. I guess it's maybe a bit advanced and it would take more than 30 minutes. So my next point on Guerilla here, and why I chose Guerilla for this project, was the speed of its IPR, the progressive rendering. So as soon as you turn this little enable interactive button and you just refresh your render, you can really see very fast update of what you're doing. So now you can see I have almost, even though it's very coarse, I can really see my viewports refreshing very fast. And just to tell you here, just the Alembic cache for this fur is 2 gigabytes. So it's not very light scene actually, but the caching system of Guerilla is pretty powerful. So when something doesn't change, it doesn't reload it. So here you can change the shader, change the light, change many things, and Guerilla is not just gonna refresh what I've changed. And in that case, as it's just the light which is changing, you can refresh very fast. So you'll tell me that okay, fur is very rarely static. Yes, it's true. But if it was a very big set, for example, with a lot of objects, you'd be happy to not have Guerilla refreshing every time you move your camera or change the light position. Even though if you're just lighting the fur on a stable frame, it's very nice to have this this interactivity. And just to push it one step further, the caching system is very, very powerful, because if I just change the shot, so let's go and open another shot. Maybe go choose shot 10. I'm just opening the new shot. It renders. Boom, starts. Because all the dependencies are the same in this shot actually. So I don't have to wait for Guerilla to put back the things in cache again. Of course, for such a project, I could have worked in a multi-shot with using the context. But again, I didn't know that at the time, so I didn't set up the project like that. But you could really make the lighting for a whole sequence which is sharing the same dependencies, or for the same set, for example. You could light the whole sequence in one Guerilla scenes using the context. So here, again, if we had to explain that in 30 minutes, it would be hard, but it's just to show you the potential of what you could do with a Guerilla render. Okay, so this was for the cache, and I can open another shot just to show you that I'm not just showing off. Hop. But very, very comfortable. So when you are working on many shots, you're not lazy on making iterations, because it brings you the comfort to increment very fast, and it makes a nicer result. More incrementation, better result every time. Okay, was it? Oh, 29. I didn't make it on purpose, but it's pretty accurate. Okay, so I don't have the rendered image here, but for the final render, I rendered using the OpenEXR ID, and it gave me the opportunity to really make the compositing on the fur, or selecting very thin and semi-transparent objects very precisely inside of Nuke. So OpenEXR ID is one more plus for choosing Guerilla for this project. So, was there any error? Am I still online? Or maybe my render just killed the streaming? Yes, I'm online. Okay. I mean, because I'm not seeing my own streaming now, so I thought maybe it was done for you guys too. Ah, that's okay. Okay. Well, actually, it was all I've prepared for today. So now we can jump to questions if you have any.